would like to share with you an idea that I come back to every single year during Sfiras Omer, and I find it to be very meaningful and very powerful. One of the most famous halachas that have to do with Sfiras Omer, and I would say maybe the most frustrating halacha, and that is if you forget to count for one night, so the rest of the time you have to count without a bracha. So we are very, very careful to make sure we don't forget, because the rest of the time you can't count with a bracha. This halacha is actually representative of a minority opinion. According to most of the medieval scholars, if a person forgets one day of counting, the person can count the rest of the time with a bracha. But there's a great rabbi by the name of the Bahag, Baal Halachot Gedolot, who writes that if you forget one day, that's it, you can't count with a bracha. And this, in fact, is how we hold. This is how it is brought in the Shulchan Aruch. The classical way of understanding this approach is that somehow the mitzvah is broken down into 49 different parts. And if you miss on one part, that's it, everything falls apart. This is kind of the classical way of understanding this approach. Some have pointed out that it is somewhat difficult to understand this approach in this way. And that is for the following reason. Generally speaking, you make a mitzvah, you make a bracha for one mitzvah. If in fact this is a 149th, every single day there's 149th of a mitzvah, why are we making 49 different brachas? Where have we found that you make a bracha on a fraction of a mitzvah? Because of this difficulty and several other difficulties as well, there are those who suggest explaining the Bahag's approach in a slightly different way. Let's think about it for a second as we're building steps. There's step 1, and there's a step 2, and a step 3, and a step 4. Without a step 3, there is no step 4. Step 4 can't hover in the air. It has to be lying on something. So as you're building up, each step depends on the step before. So those who explain that even though every single day there's a separate mitzvah, but without a 6, there's no 7. And without a 7, there's no 8. And within this approach lies a very important idea. And that is the incredible opportunities that are given to us every single day. Let me explain to you based on another Gemara. There's a Gemara in Masechus Shabbos that tells us there was a certain Amora who did not hear and did not accept a certain halacha in Hilchos Chanukah. Now, you have to understand, he didn't do anything wrong. He took the more stringent position. Well, in fact, the halacha was lenient. And this went on for a couple of years until finally he realized that, in fact, he should have been ruling leniently. He should have assumed a more lenient position. And he was very upset that it took him years to figure this out. And the Gemara asked the question, what's the problem? After all, you didn't do anything wrong, and now you've learned the proper halacha. And he answers in the following manner, Nafkamina legirsa diankusa. No, it does make a difference, because I should have learned it. I should have had the learning of the youth. Now Rashi explains what's the benefit of learning of the youth. That is, when you learn something when you're younger, you remember it better. So he was upset that he learned it later, so maybe he wouldn't remember it as well. But those who explain it differently, when you learn a piece of information, especially if something as important as Torah Kedosha, that piece of information has tremendous value. But every piece of Torah serves as a key to another piece of Torah. We all know that in order to learn something, you have to know something. The more that you learn, the more you can learn. If you learned a certain vocabulary word, you learned a certain concept. So next time you encounter something that has that word, that concept, now you can understand it. If you don't know that word, if you don't know that concept, how many times has it happened to us? We get stuck on a word, we understand what's going on. We hear a shir, the person mentions something, we don't know what it is, we're lost. The more that we know, the more we're able to learn. So Samora was upset that he didn't learn this halacha, and therefore, how many opportunities did he miss because he didn't have the key of this piece of Torah? And I think this is the message of understanding the Bahag, that all days of the sphere depend on one on the other. We have to understand that the opportunities of today create opportunities for tomorrow. And we have to grab all those opportunities. We should not allow them to be frittered away, because we're not just giving up that which we're giving up today. We don't even know what we're giving up for tomorrow, because we will not have those keys. We won't have those abilities to understand that which is going to happen tomorrow. We're taught to have great visions, to see the big picture. And that's really, really important. A person doesn't have a big picture. How can the person function? But a person also has to have a small picture. A person has to focus on the day and say, what's available for me today? Sometimes I'm looking so far into the future and I have this big picture in front of me. I miss on the opportunities of today. We're all living in strange times and in many ways very difficult times. But we have to stop and appreciate the opportunities that exist today that offer us tools for tomorrow. And I think if we take that type of an approach and we see what it is in front of us, we'll be surprised because the opportunities are numerous and we shouldn't allow them to disappear in front of us. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.